What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Yanks of the Cop. We are here for our new segment, Friday's Final Word. We're going to break down all the latest news, rumors, gossip, anything to do with the Reds. We're here to talk about it. As always, I'm your host, Steve. Andrew has the day off today, always joined by our main manual homie out in London. And we have a very special guest. He is now a recurring guest officially. You guys all know him from Kopish. They are awesome. We're a pleasure to be joined by Callum Sanderson. Callum, thanks so much for joining us, man. How you doing?
Pleasure's all mine. You don't need to thank me, guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Nah, it's I think this came at a perfect time. A lot of shit happening around the Reds right now, good and bad. And I think where I kind of want to start off is the little bit of the low point that was the great thing that happened yesterday with the win after Tottenham. Our last two center backs going down with injuries. Matip leaves at halftime with looks like ankle injury. It looks like it's going to be a few months for him. Fabinho, late scratch. Looks like it's more of a minor thing, but they're still trying to figure out questions there. Callum, let's start with you. Like no rest for the wicked, more injuries back. Are you shaking now? I'm starting to get a little bit worried now with all these injuries adding up.
I'm very worried. I'm almost hoping this is a masterclass from Klopp where he's just telling Matip and Fabinho to pretend and that we get some centre backs because of it. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think Klopp would do that. When I heard Fabinho was injured, I was annoyed because it's like you could see this coming because he's been running to the ground. But he was like, okay, but Matip's back. And then when Matip went off at half time, I was like, okay. Now we're relying on potentially our 7th and 8th choice centre-backs if we don't sign anyone. That's scary. And I can't remember not only a title-winning team, but a team in Premier League history who's at a point now where if they don't sign a player within the next couple of days, they're going to be relying on their 7th and 8th choice players to be playing in a position where you're aiming to try and win a league or worst-case scenario, battle for top 4. I'm very worried about those two players being injured, especially Matip, because we know that it takes him a while to get himself back ready. But I feel as though he's getting more injuries than usual because he's being rushed back every time. He's not getting that chance to fully recuperate. But Fabinho worries me the most because he's played so many minutes that he might just end up breaking down, which is a scary prospect.
No, I completely agree. And it's funny because I remember last season, I kind of laughed at City fans when they were like, oh, the poor injury is really killing us. And they had to bring Fernandinho in the back. And we saw that a little bit, but now we're seeing it even more. Like you said, we have Henderson now, our two best midfielders before Thiago got here are now our center back. And now we have one of them down. And Henderson also is another guy who's played a lot of minutes. And now we're going to be relying on him game in and game out to play center back. I know we've talked about it a lot, but we're almost pushing the hand now. What do you think about all this?
I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy that the fact that it took us until Matip getting injured for us to now finally make moves in the transfer window. I think they should have been done as soon as you saw Lovren, a replacement should have been lined up and in place. And I think it's madness. And I think it's only Liverpool that would be in this situation. And I get, obviously we had James Pearce on a few nights back, and he was saying that how it's down to the fact that they don't feel there's anyone that's available, that the main targets aren't available to the summer, and they don't want to just get a stopgap in for the sake of it. They want the right player. And I get that, but I think at the same time, there has to be someone out there that's better than Phillips or Williams, that it's going to be affordable that we can bring in, because we need someone. We can't be in a situation where, as you said, if Fabinho gets injured, then what are we doing? We're playing Hendo at centre back for the rest of the season with Phillips or Williams. We can't be doing that. And as good as Hendo did the other night, we need Hendo in midfield. So I think if we don't get a centre back, I don't think it's end if we don't get a centre back, but I think it's going to be very hard for us to win the league. Champions League, I think we could still do it because it's knockout stages. Maybe lucky with a draw, you can get to a final potentially. But I think for the league title, we need a centre back, someone to come in, because we're on our knees right now. So, this is like danger territory. We need something needs to change.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. And, one thing that aggravated me a little bit was the outcry after the United FA Cup game, the outcry of Reece Williams' performance. And listen, he didn't play well, right? Okay, it wasn't a great performance, but we saw him come into the team at 19 years old, never playing this level of football. He played a couple big games for us when he first came up. This kid, we're asking way too much out of him. If you told him at the beginning of the season he's going to be playing this much, he would have told you, like, go fuck off. There's no way I'm playing that much. You know what I mean? And, we're putting way too hard on the guy. But like you said, we can't rely on him to play all these games. We need more talent around it. And when you have a guy like Williams in there, it's almost like the Adrian effect, to the point of like you can just see everybody else in the team, Trent especially. He misses that constant good center back next to him, and having Henderson cover for him in the midfield. So that's the one thing that aggravates me. But Callum, I actually wanted to ask you about Klopp's comments last week. It really seemed like the first time he kind of, not maybe a direct shot, maybe even like a ricochet shot at FSG. Do you kind of get a feel that he's starting to get a little frustrated with everything going on?
Yeah, I do, and it's what worries me. And again, I'll sit here and tell you, I'm neither FSG in nor FSG out. I'm FSG, just do the right thing. And I think what we saw from Klopp last week was the first time he'd been vocally and publicly frustrated with what's going on behind the scenes. Now, I'm not under any illusions that these guys they're all business people and passionate football people. There's bound to be arguments behind the scenes. Like, me and my wife have arguments behind the scenes, but if we started having arguments out on the street, then people are going to be like, maybe these two need to address something now. And I think that's what we were starting to see signs of. I think Klopp's not stupid, and you made a great point about Reece Williams. In the season, these were our centre-back options: Virgil van Dijk, Joe Gomez, Matip, Fabinho, Nat Phillips. Then you were looking at Billy Kometio. Kometio was hyped up in the summer, and then you'd argue maybe Sepp Vandenberg, and then Reece Williams. So effectively, at the beginning of the season, we all as fans would have seen Reece as the 8th choice centre-back. And then if we remember when Trent broke out into the scene, he had a horror game against Man United and got ripped for that as well. This resembles that. The only difference is now we're not fighting for top four, we're fighting for leagues and Champions Leagues. And I worry that Klopp is getting to the point where he's so frustrated that he's going to look at it and think, right, I've delivered a Champions League, World Club Championship, European Super Cup, and the holy grail of a Premier League under the transfer strategy. I'm not saying Klopp's demanding Pep or Abramovich type money, but I think he's sitting there saying, loosen the strings a little bit and don't be so rigid with the transfer strategy. I've delivered everything I can. I'm trying to maintain what we've got now. And it seems to be like there's a disconnect between the owners and Klopp and Edwards when it comes to that. And I think that worries me, because if we have a bad rest of the season and we don't get the targets that maybe Klopp wants, I think we could see Klopp leave before the end of his contract in 2024.
Yeah, I honestly could not agree more. And I think Mick brings up a good point. Like, the fact that we're still up here we've had no Van Dijk since October is astounding, and but it's not sustainable. And that's my biggest thing is this, listen, we're not asking you to an $80 million signing. That's not what we're asking for. All we're asking for is a capable body back there who's a natural center back who has some experience. There is a number of guys available, either free agents or short loan deals that can just be a quick stopgap. We're not asking for anything huge, but just, again, two of our best players are Fabinho and Henderson, and they haven't been able to play their main role this season because they have to play out of position. Homie, we talk about this all the time. At one point, does FSG have to stop being, if you want to call it FSG or Edwards, whoever, but $2 million for a loan to get you guarantee a top 4 spot, guarantee Champions League next year? I think that's pretty worthwhile. What do you think?
I think there's a danger here because, we're not privy to what's going on behind the scenes. So obviously we make a lot of statements based on what's said in the press, and obviously the press are there to kind of sensationalize the media and get people going. So we don't 100% exactly know, and obviously maybe on one hand it really is that difficult. Obviously people know we need a centre back. Maybe they're saying for a £10 million player normally, they're charging us double the price for 20 million for him. or 30 million. So maybe that could be the case. So I think on one hand, I can see maybe it could be difficult getting a centre back, especially like a decent one. You know, obviously the prices that people, and also with January never been a good window to buy, really, on the whole. So I think FSG are to blame on one point in terms of like we shouldn't be in a situation. But then I think at the same time, Klopp should never allow Lovren to leave in the summer without knowing there's a replacement coming in. You know, as he's always said, he has the final say on all transfers coming or going. So he should have been like, well, I'm not selling Lovren if I don't have another centre back lined up. So I think I think it's easy to blame all FSG. I think there's blame to both on both sides. You know, like, you know, Klopp's is equals to blame for the situation because, like I said, he has the veto. So, but I think obviously right now something needs to be done. You know, something should have been done as soon as the window had opened up. There should have been a centre back, whether it's a loan or lined up straight away. I know obviously in the summer most teams were buying players out by using loans, and I get obviously FSG don't want to do that to the club, and obviously they're not the kind of owners that are ever going to put their own money in the club. They said that from day one. That's not their style. You know, they're going to always spend what the club generates, and obviously credit to them, they don't take money out. They don't get any shares from Liverpool. So I think it's a hard one because I can see both sides. And I'm like, kind of not FSG in or out. And I think people got overboard by saying FSG had nothing to do with us being successful. It was all Klopp. But obviously when anything goes bad, it's all FSG fault. So I think it's like, I think as a collective, something should have been done. And I don't think it's fair to just blame one party. I think we should all look at it and say, look, Klopp, FSG, and Edwards should have done more to ensure that we weren't in a situation, you know. Yeah. And maybe in the case of on Klopp's side, he needs to be more vocal and actually be more demanding to the owners if he's not being. Like say, look, 1st of January, look, I need a centre back. Who are we getting in? If it's a loan, I need someone in and press for it, rather than just I'm just going to get along with it. So I think it's a difficult one to just blame one side.
Yeah, and I also think too that people just got we just got comfortable with the Van Dijk effect. You know what I mean? This guy was an absolute machine. You know, he never missed a game, and you know he makes everything look easy. So I think in the back of our heads, always like we're always gonna have Virgil there, right? And then having Virgil there covers for so many other things. But then now you see the problem. All it took was one bad tackle by a dumbass with short arms, and you know, it goes down, and now we're screwed. I think I cut you off there, Callum. You about to add something?
Yeah, I was gonna just echo what Holmes said. I think another person that's kind of gone under the radar of it all is Michael Edwards to an extent as well. And again, you could argue that it still comes back to FSG in a way because this is their policy, but we all know we're a sell to buy club in terms of transfers. We've never made a secret of that. I think in the summer, there were players like Origi, Shaqiri, Nat Phillips, and a few other players that the club actively were trying to sell. But we didn't sell because Michael Edwards didn't feel as though we were getting market value for those people. Now, you could turn around and say, well, we were never going to get market value for these players because of the pandemic. Therefore, should we have maybe sold them slightly cheaper? And that money could have potentially gone to a centre-back as well. So I don't think all the blame can go on FSG. I think the majority goes to them at the moment. But I think you have to also hold Klopp and Edwards to some accountability with the situation. But also another point is the moment we sold Lovren and then we got the injuries, we should have known we were going to get like held over a barrel for any centre-back we're going for. Like we could go in for any player in world football who's a centre-back right now. And if they cost 5 million, we're going to have to pay a premium because we've made it so so much public knowledge that one, we need a centre back, and two, we're struggling without what we've got in the injury crisis. That any team's going to do this. It's a business at the end of the day. If Liverpool, look, we did the exact same thing to Barcelona. They sold Neymar, and we knew Barcelona needed another marquee signing to make up for that void. They wanted Coutinho. Let's be honest, as great as Coutinho was for us, 142 million is crazy money. You'd argue he's maybe an 80, 90 million pound player at the time. We said it's either 142 million or nothing. And Barca paid it because they had to. They were in a position. And we're now the same with centre-backs.
It's a good point, and I love the point you made about Edwards, and especially like this summer business, and it's actually something I wanted to talk about too, because when you think about it, we wanted to try and get 20 million for guys like Harry Wilson, and now Harry Wilson is being replaced by Shinji Oho, and so it's just like, come on, like you can't cut it in the championship right now, and it's just like a lot of these dollar signs. I think we wanted like 30 million for Origi and stuff like that. Like, we should have sold Origi after the Champions League final, number one.
Should have, yeah.
But, I mean, easy to say in hindsight, but still, I mean, again, like I love, like, more often than not, Edwards does a good job, but I think sometimes Liverpool gets a little full of themselves with what we have, thinking, because we're champions, everyone's price tag goes up, when I don't really think that's the case all the time. But one point I wanted to bring up about the center backs is, finally, with these injuries yesterday, it seems like we're going to do everything that we can to get at least somebody in. I want to talk about some of the options, because our buddy over at 1892 podcast said Mustafi looks like the favorite. I will fucking shit myself if we get I want to see him in the Liverpool. I would much rather go with a guy like Phillips week in and week out.
Yeah. I said that Mustafi's like basically having an Adrian at centre back.
Wait, what'd you say?
Mustafi's basically like having an Adrian at centre back. He's that level. He made so many howlers at Arsenal. He's not a good centre back.
Exactly. And like if he were to come in, I would just be like, oh my god, what the hell are we doing? I'd much rather have a guy like Phillips back there than him.
Oh jeez, Mustafi.
Can you imagine Mustafi?
I can't imagine.
Even Socrates. People talking about Socrates, I was just like, no, either one of those guys, like, just the death of me. Like, the death of me. I can't do either one of them. But there's a couple other names that have come up. Sven Botman's name came up again. James Pierce pretty much said all those rumors are bullshit. The American name came up, Aaron Long from the U.S. national team. Subotic is now a free agent. So, like, what do you guys think of, like, who's potentially out there? And maybe a name that we haven't discussed. Like, is there somebody that you guys are like, this would be perfect?
There's also that Braga player. I can't remember his name, that centre back at Braga.
Is it Carmo?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I heard his name linked again yesterday. Someone saying that.
Apparently he played tonight though, so
that doesn't look good. So like Callum, if we were to bring somebody in, like, do you have a name like that could be available, or like a profile of a player that you'd like to bring in for that spot?
If I'm from all the names that we've been linked with and all the names that I have an inclination of potentially being available, Eder Militao seems to be the best fit. I can't sit here and say I know loads about Sven Botman. I've watched a couple of YouTube videos and I've watched him maybe once since the beginning of the month because we're linked with him. He looks solid. He looks like he's really robust, good in the air, a decent turn of pace. But I remember watching Eder Militao when we played against Porto in the Champions League final the season we won it, 18-19. And he was excellent on both legs. And first leg, we beat them 2-0, but he was easily Porto's best player. Second leg, we beat them, I think it was 4-1, but he scored the goal from the corner for Porto. And you look at his attributes, he's very quick, he's strong, he's dominant in the air, even though he's, well, I say only 6'2", he's taller than I am, but only 6'2" is quite short for a modern-day centre-back. He's dominant, he's strong, he's good at passing, he's good at breaking the lines with his dribbling as well, and he can also play right back. And he's the one who we wouldn't have to pay a high fee for because it would be on a loan deal, and then maybe we negotiate something in the summer depending on how he does. Plus, there's Brazilian contingency at the club as well, which could potentially help him settle in quickly. I think he may be the one that I'd look at really pushing hard for if I had to say someone.
Me too. It's because I feel like his flexibility to Klopp would salivate over, especially like long term. If he does well in the short term, we maybe negotiate something permanent. Yeah, he'd be like a cheap person's Jordi Alba, not Jordi Alba, Alaba, in my opinion. But
the only downside to him is that Pierce said there's no interest in him. He rubbishes that rumor. So I don't know if that's true.
Bad news, Pierce. Bad news, Pierce.
We asked him that, and he said like he's not heard any actual concrete links for us to him that we're being used in the press for him and Botman. He said he rubbished them to both. So I hope that's a smokescreen, but that kind of like was a dagger to the heart.
I hope so too. The one thing that Pierce said that was interesting was that he said that Liverpool have identified the guy that they want. the center back that they want. He said that he's not available in January, but he's going to be available in the summer. And when I asked for a type of profile of a player that person is, it was pretty much exactly along the lines of what J-Doc is saying here. It's a long-term, a partner for Virgil, someone who could potentially start or just maybe be the next guy, but they want somebody who's reliable, who has Champions League experience in one of the top leagues. For some reason, I got a vibe that's going to be Upamecano or Kouyaté, one of those guys from Leipzig. But it's interesting. So my thing is, I feel like if they do bring somebody in this window, it's going to be a stopgap. I don't think that's what they wanted originally, but now I think if they have their guy in the summer and he's not available now, it's going to be more of a stopgap solution. So
Did you guys take Diop?
Over Mustafi, yeah.
I don't know enough.
Over Mustafi, and again, it makes you question though, because West Ham have dropped him for Craig Dawson.
Yeah.
The questions have to be asked.
And in the last guy that we got from West Ham was Adrian. So,
oh yeah.
But remember, what do you call him? Who's the manager? Was it Glenn Rodio dropped Mascherano? He was playing.
He did. He did.
Yeah.
We
got Mascherano sat on the bench.
Very true. Very true.
And I just have no idea where this link to the American player Aaron Long's come from. No idea where it's come from.
There's that journal who's supposed to be I don't know. He calls himself a freelance journal. He's got 99,000 followers or something. He was the one who did it first.
Yes, I don't know how true it is. I mean, the one thing I'll say about him, he is really good in the air. He has an aerial presence. He can snap a header just as good as anybody. But the problem is this guy, he's 28 years old. He has less than 20 caps for the American fucking national team. And he didn't start getting minutes in the MLS until 2 years ago. So it's just that doesn't check. That the only box that checks is that you play center back and he's good in the air. But he does not have the experience, nowhere near even a top level experience that I'd want a guy to come into Liverpool. So I just don't know where that comes from.
You're basically describing an American version of Nat Phillips who's older.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is.
We might as well keep that. We might as well just keep that then.
Yeah. Do you reckon this is the end of Matip this season? He's going to be out for most of the season now. Do you reckon that's the end of him at Liverpool?
Begrudgingly and brokenheartedly, yes. And it's such a shame because I genuinely believe he's our second best centre back. He is so good when he plays. Even yesterday, you think of the situation where Son looked like he was in. He just used his smarts, he used his body strength, he used his pace, and he just eased him off the ball. Not even close to being a penalty, calmed the whole situation down. I don't know if I could trust Joe Gomez to do what Matip did yesterday in that particular situation. And I rate Joe Gomez as a good defender. But Matip, for me, is just a better defender than Joe Gomez. But his body is just breaking.
Yeah.
And I think this is the last straw.
I agree in terms of his quality. I mean, he is an absolute he's world class when he plays. And
yeah, definitely.
He was a free transfer for us. It's unbelievable signing, great. But you can't have Gomez and Matip be your second and third options. Neither one of them are reliable. And honestly, as much as I would love Matip and I would love to see him stay here, it's just I say it all the time. Availability is the number one ability. And I also think with him turning 30, this is probably the last year we're going to get any sort of decent transfer wage for a guy like that. So I think if we can move on from him, maybe bring in 2 center backs in the summer, I think that's going to be the right thing to do. Because after this year, it's going to be just like the Origi effect where we're not going to get the transfer value that we want from him.
Yeah, sorry, Waham, you're going to say something.
I was going to say, I think I agree with both of you. I think he's got still high stock in Germany, so someone in Germany would pick him up because he's still very good. And I think he'd probably suit a slow league like Germany than playing the Premiership or going to someone like Holland where it's a bit less robust. But I think his body just can't handle it anymore. And him going at half time, as soon as I saw that, I thought, God, Matt's made of glass. What? I didn't see any challenge on him. So I was thinking, how does he get hurt? So I think we just have to cut losses with some of these players. We need to be more ruthless and and actually just say like some of these players just can't be played anymore. You know, we can't rely on them. We can't be going season after season relying on injury-prone players that turn up once every 10 games. You know, and it's just like we're not going to achieve nothing. I think, you know, what Ferguson was very good at in his days, he used to get rid of players that just weren't cutting it, you know, and very good at like creating new teams. And I think that's something we need to do this summer, just take stock and say, look, can we rely on Matip, Keita and Ox? No. So let's just move them on and get the best price possible we can. We have to take a loss, we take a loss, you know, but just move them on and get new players in that we can rely on.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to ask you about that, Callum, because we talk about Keita a lot on this podcast. Like, do you like when it comes to his ability on the field? That there's no question. Like, we know how good he is, but at what point do you, Callum, just be like, all right, like, enough's enough at this point? Like, you're just not available. Like, we need to move on.
For me, I've already reached that point. But what I will say, because of Genie moving on this summer and the fact of us needing 2 centre-backs, it's not even just one now, we need 2 centre-backs. I think Keita will be spared this summer. I think Milner coming to the end of his career as well, even though he was phenomenal against Tottenham. Mm-hmm. I think it will mean Keita stays, especially as I think we're going to start to transition more to a 4-2-3-1. You'd imagine that Hendo, Fabinho, Thiago are the first 3, and then Keita makes up number 4 for that double pivot, and then for the number 10, you could argue it's Bobby, Ox, and Jones, and then Milner can fill in as well. I think he'll be spared. I think if Genie was staying, I think we'd sell Keita and get a younger midfielder.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. He frustrates me beyond belief.
Me too, because like anytime we play a low block, I'm just standing there like, wow, this would be a perfect game for Keita. Oh, but wait, he's injured again. And I get similar vibes with him and Matip, because I feel like, especially with Keita, there was times that he was coming back from injury. I feel like we just like rushed him back too soon, and when I just feel like maybe his role, and I've seen this a few times, maybe what his role needs to be for like a very extended period of time is just be the super sub, be the guy who comes in at the 60-minute mark and change the game. It's when he plays the 60, 90 minutes when he starts getting injured. And I think like, but he can change the game as a sub. Like his pace, his quickness, his tackling ability, his through balls, like that can change a game. And like I talk about it all the time. With Jota gone, we have nobody to come in off the bench to really just change the pace like that.
Well, I can't think of many games that Keita's come off the bench and changed. Maybe the Man United 1-1 draw, but when Lana scored, but I can't think of many where he's come off the bench and changed. But to be fair,
I don't remember the last time he fucking played.
Yeah.
I just don't even know. Like it's so rare.
Yeah, I looked at his stats today because when we were doing the show from Kopish, we were having a debate about Naby Keita or Ndombele, and Matt, who's one of the guys on Kopish, he's a massive Naby fan, and I was saying, look, Naby's talented, but I'm taking Ndombele at the moment because he's much more available. And Matt was like, bring up their stats, and since Ndombele's come to England, he's played more games than Naby, he's scored more goals and assisted more. And it's like, you look at that and you look at the impact. Naby hasn't had an impact. Like with Ox for me is also in the same boat because Ox's injuries are just as bad. But we can point at periods of Ox's Liverpool career and say, you know what, he did magic then. Like he's got moments, massive moments. Whereas for Keita, dare I say, he's only had one big moment for Liverpool, and that was scoring against Chelsea, that top corner goal he scored against Chelsea that came off the post in the game where we did the trophy procession. But apart from that, I'm struggling to think of a game or a moment Naby's had in a Liverpool shirt where I can really say, yeah, he's got a future here. I can't. And this is his 3rd season now.
Leicester game, Boxing Day?
There's 2 games.
Yes, behind. Yeah.
And his first ever game for Liverpool.
West Ham, against
West Ham. That was probably his peak in the first game. It's just like...
Also the turning he did against Andros Townsend against Crystal Palace, where he turned him and digs it over for Salah. But again, this is all within the first couple of games he played for the club. Yeah. Like slim pickings. It's slim pickings.
And here's the one concern that I have about this summer, and Nick brings it up here, might be a mad summer, but dude, like not a lot of teams are gonna have money. Like everyone's being hit by COVID. So it's like I hope that we can have this max exodus of these people who just don't play and who can't stay healthy. But it's like, are you, again, goes back to the whole Michael Edwards thing, trying to make a buck on everybody. Like, are you going to get the value that you want for these guys when they have this injury history, but then no one really has the funds they typically have? So like that's the biggest thing that I'm concerned about this summer is everyone's talking about doing all these moves, but where's the money going to come from? And how are we going to replace these guys if we can't sell Ox for 25, 30 million? Like if you have to sell them for 15, like that's not going to help us that much.
That's my worry.
Yeah, I think as you know, we're going to have to take a hit in some of them. Like, you know, as Callum said earlier, we're a sell to buy club, so we're going to have to take a hit. You know, we're going to have to accept maybe 14, 15 million for a Grujic or Wilson just to get these players out because they've got no future at Liverpool, so there's no point in keeping them. So as well as Shaq, they have to take a hit. Maybe you might have got 25 million for Shaq. Maybe you have to take 15 to 20 million for him. You know, and say, well, you know, if you get 3 of these players out, that could buy us a centre back. You know, and just take the hit because keeping them around, it's probably costing us enough in wages. You know, some players that just never contribute anything, or
Agreed.
You know, as good as they are, we can't keep on saying, oh well, you know, if Ox or Katie gets fit, they're going to be a great player. We've been saying that for the last 3 years now. Same with Matip, saying that for the last 3 years now. So it's like time just to say, look, just take the hit. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's annoying. And then the other thing that drives me crazy, we've talked about it a few times. I wanted to get Callum's opinion. It's Minamino, man. What's this guy got to do to get some minutes? Like he put in a great performance against Crystal Palace, and then just got sent right back. He got the Shaqiri treatment, and went right back into the basement. Like, like, would you like? Listen, like I think it's clear that like he still needs to put on more muscle. Like his body isn't 100% Premier League ready yet, but like also like he needs the opportunity, and I would also love to see him have the opportunity to play with the first team guys, not always have to play with the younger guys, more of like the reserve team. Like, because I think he could still have a really good role in this team. Like we've seen him have good connect.
I'll be honest with you. I feel as though we bought Minamino as a market employee. That's what it really feels like. Massive name in the Asian market. Got the Nike deal. It felt like, well, it feels like it now that's the reason we've got him. Also, I mean, he's getting barged about by the Aston Villa under 18s team, but some of those guys aren't even old enough to get retail jobs. He was getting muscled about in that game. There's a player in there. I just don't know if he's a Liverpool player, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's another one. He's another one we may have to cash in on the summer, in my opinion. Because I do think he holds good stock in Germany and will definitely make a profit on him. So that's what I was going to say. So going back to your point, Mahone, that we may have to sell players at a loss. I think it balances itself out because if we speak about players like Jordan Ibe and Solanke and Brewster, we sold them really high. So we may have to take a loss, and it just balances out the books a little bit and just the karma to an extent as well, because we've got some top money for some players who we really shouldn't have got that sort of money for as well.
That's true. We can always give Bournemouth a call. Yeah.
Well, I hope they get back in the Premiership ASAP because we need them right now.
You hear that rumor about that link that someone said that Minamino's played 12-30 games, and it's kind of linked to Asian time. So like, I think so. It said, yeah, it went around us today. Like they said that he played there. He's like every 12-30 game Liverpool played, he started.
No way. No way.
Football times in Japan and Korea, that football's live then or something. And I was thinking, interesting. Is that?
Yeah, surely we're not playing with our team like that. Surely not. Surely not.
Well, our next 12-30 game's Leicester, so if he starts that, to the Asian market.
A question I was going to ask both of you guys, and Wahome, you mentioned his name, Grujic. Does Grujic have a potential future with Wijnaldum moving on? Keita not playing as much as he should?
It's funny because I was also going to bring that up because people are like, we should bring him back on from his loan because he's only played in like 3 games for Porto. The thing I like about Grujic is that I just feel like he gives you something different in that either defensive mid or / center back spot. Like, you don't see many defensive center mids with his body type. Like, he's just so big that he offers something different. But like, I just feel like anytime he's had the chance to play with us, he's never really stood out to me like super like a ton. I feel like I think his dad even said it before he came to Liverpool. Like, he was really worried about him coming here and then just like being lost in the shuffle, and that's kind of what's happening. And I don't know, like I was hoping that he'd play more at Porto, and if he's not getting the minutes there, like, is he going to get the minutes here? Is he actually good enough for us? Like, the question, it remains to be seen for me. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm always willing to give him a shot again in preseason, but I think he's one of those guys, along with Wilson, that I would, if I get a half decent offer for him, I'd ship him out. But it's good for his career at this point. I think he needs to find a place he can settle in.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I blame Neil Warnock for playing him because when Grujic was signed, he was supposed to be the new Ballack. He's supposed to be this wicked box-to-box player, and then Neil Warnock played him DM, and then he's been on these loans, just been shunted around different positions. He's never actually picked or found a position that works for him. And I think that's the problem. When he comes in pre-season, you only get maybe like a few chances to impress Klopp. And then if you don't wow him straight away, they're like, yeah, he's going on loan again. So do I think Grujic has a future? I think we might keep him for the body because, if we were to sell Ox and we lose Gini, and then maybe Milner does go, then we're lacking bodies in the midfield. And I don't think we're going to buy that many players as we would like in the summer, just due to COVID and stuff. So I think we may keep him as a body and maybe see if we can then get something out of him as a DM potentially, or maybe as a utility centre-back. Because there are shots he maybe be able to do a Chan and play a centre-back. I don't know. I've never seen him play there. But
yeah, I
don't know. I'll probably keep him just for the body. Yeah, long term.
Well, Magic Mo had a good point here. I kind of brought this up too, potentially. Daka as a Origi, replacement. I think he's a good fit. We have a good relationship with that team when it comes to transfers. I think Origi has definitely spelled his. I think this is definitely his last season, like without a doubt. I think a guy like Daka, his profile, I think would be good because we talked about it yesterday. Saw yesterday how good Firmino can be when he's somewhat fresh. He got some rest the game before, comes in, played well. About a month ago, he got rested a couple games, comes back in, played well. Like, he's one of the most capped guys under Klopp. He definitely needs a deputy. From what you guys know of Daka, what do you think of him? And if not him, do you guys have anyone else that you kind of want to fill that role?
For a number 9?
Yeah.
I'm going to go full FIFA mode here. I really am. I want Mbappe, man. I want Mbappe or Haaland. Like, we are, in my opinion, when everyone's fit and everyone's firing, we're the top 2 teams in Europe. And where can Mbappe go apart from Bayern Munich, in my opinion, where he's going to be playing for the best manager and some of the best players in world football? Like, we are that team. Again, obviously, I know financially that's a mad deal to complete, but Mbappe, I'd love to imagine seeing Mbappe, Mane, and Salah with Bobby playing in the 10, and then Thiago and/or Henderson / Fabinho. How do you stop that team?
You don't.
How do you stop that team?
You don't.
I don't like these title races that go down to the last day of the season. Like last season, that's my perfect season. Dominate, wrap up with games to go. I kick back and I enjoy my season. I love last season was my perfect season. The season before, when we finished a point behind City, I aged about 5-6 years in that season. I'm never going to get those years back. I probably lowered my age last season because of how comfortable you were. I want to be comfortable every season. I hate title races. I hate them. I want Mbappe.
Would you rather have over Haaland?
That's a tough one. Yes, only because I feel he's more versatile and his overall game is better than Haaland's. But I think Haaland's a better natural finisher.
Mm-hmm. I think personally, I would take Haaland just because I think if you were able to keep Mane and Salah and Firmino and bring one of those guys in, I think it's more of just like a natural fit, putting him at the 9, putting Bobby at the 10. But I also think guys like Robertson and Trent would salivate being able to hit balls into Haaland with his height and his finishing ability. I'm not saying that, having Salah at the 9 or Mbappe at the 9 would be much less of a drop-off, but I just think having that bigger target, and like you said, it's like, which way do you want us to beat you? Do you want us to beat you with Gomez and Van Dijk's long balls over the top? Should we play for the wing? Should we just have Thiago just knife you through the middle? Like, pick your point at that point.
Yeah.
My issue with getting Haaland and Mbappe is the fact that I think that we need at least 2 new centre-backs. We need another attacking midfielder who can score goals, and then we need a striker. And I think if you get Mbappe or Haaland, that means you're only getting 1 centre-back, and you're not getting a midfielder. And it means that, to me, that papers over the cracks because it's still going to be massive issues in terms of if, say, the front line have an off day, where the goals coming from? And we've seen with Man City, the fact that Gundogan gets goals and they're getting goals from like defence, and that helps you win games when you can have goals in different positions. I think Liverpool is the one thing we've lacked is since Coutinho left, we've lacked that person from midfield that scores goals. That's especially there've been plenty of games where you felt, okay, look, this game's set up for someone who can shoot from long distance because the way teams are backing off you, and we miss someone like that. And I think I'd love a Haaland or Mbappe if you promised me that we're keeping the front 3. If you said to me, guaranteed, we're keeping the front, we can afford that, then fair enough. But I don't think to get any of them 2, I think it's going to mean one of the front 3 has to go, and it's Salah gone. Regardless of his statement today, I think Salah goes to get Mbappe or Haaland in. And that's why for me, I was saying to go for Daka because I think like Daka's cheaper. He only costs 30-40 million. He's got better stats than Haaland has at Salzburg. He's got 19 goals, 16 goals in 19 games now. And I think like he can play it from the front line. He played well against us when we played them in the
pre-season.
He scored 2 goals against us. And I think if you've got Daka, then it allows you to still buy 2 centre-backs and actually fix the whole team, fix the spine of the team. But Haaland and Mbappe means someone in the front we has to go.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Raheem, based on that?
Sure.
Again, I'm going to come across as really biased. Firmino is one of my favourite players. Do you not think Firmino, in a weird way, would score more goals from the 10 because he's not expected to get goals from the 9 position and he can make those late runs into the box? We saw he got 2 assists against Man United from effectively the number 10 position. He'd have another player in front of him who could act as a decoy to his runs into the box. Or am I just speaking out of my bum?
I think would you then be going to a 4-2-3-1 permanently then, Callum?
Yeah.
I think actually I agree with you there because I do think Firmino played best for us this season when he's been a 10 and he's dropped deep. Yeah. I don't think he's that good when he plays as a striker nowadays. I don't think him being the system works anymore because I don't think he's overall linking up and pressing as much as he did before in his first few seasons when he was outstanding at it. So I do think he'd probably benefit actually then if he were to, that probably would work. If we would guarantee to go to a 4-3-1 for the season, then I think that probably would benefit him more. And it'd take the pressure off him because I think it does hurt him when he's not scoring, and you can see it affects him big time. Yeah. And also, there've been no fans there. Bobby's an entertainer, and the no fans there hurts him too. So I'm pretty sure they must see the social media, people criticizing him, saying Bobby out, and that massively affects him. Regardless of what he says, it massively affects him because you can tell the difference when Bobby's smiling, happy, like he was against Tottenham. He plays well, but when he's like he was in like the West Brom game or the Southampton game, when doesn't look happy at all, or smiling, then he's not in a good moment, and the team suffers. So I think that if we were to, that potentially could work. Play Bobby as a 10 and get Haaland and Mbappe in. But do you still see us getting Mbappe and keeping the rest of the others, or do you see one of them have to go?
I hate to say it, if Mbappe came, I'd be very worried about one of the front three moving on.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to be honest, 2 centre backs is a must. A central midfielder, I would sacrifice for this summer. I know it's a risk, but I'd sacrifice for this summer and keep what we've got. In an ideal world, I'd bring in another wide forward and Mbappe as well. If we could go and get someone like Neto, and then you've got Mane, Salah, Neto, Jota, Mbappe as your 5 to fill the front 3, that I'm going to be over the moon with that. But I also know, being realistic, we're going to have to sell a lot or make money from somewhere for that to happen.
Well, and one person. Oh, good.
No, I was just going to ask, would you get a Traore? Because I think that he's going nuts.
That's what I was going to ask. I don't rate Traore either, man. I don't. Anytime I watch him play, like, I hate to be this guy, and I'm probably being so dramatic about it, but he's just he is the definition of a pace and cross merchant. Like, I have seen him hit so many crosses that don't even land in the box. They land by the corner flag and like outside the box. He does that shit all the fucking time. And just like, and also like, I just don't think he's had the best attitude this year with Wolves either. Like there seems to be something going on with his contract there or something. He's been coming off the bench a lot, but it's just like, he should be one of the first names on that team sheet with Neto, with all these guys, with those top guys. And the fact that he's not, and they're in the position that that is a huge red flag for me. Huge red flag.
Yeah. Plus, I just worry if it would fit our system as well. As you said, he's more of a player that crosses the ball a lot, whereas our wingers don't naturally do that. Our wingers are goal getters. Now, that may change if we go and get an out-and-out 9, but I just look at the way Salah and Mane play, and there's no question about Traore when he's hot. He's on his days, he's virtually unplayable, but those days are very few and far between. And if you're playing in a Liverpool team, you only have to look at someone like Jota. You've got to come and you've got to hit the ground running, and you've got to be stupidly consistent to be in our team.
Yeah.
I like the Neto. I think he'd be he's very technical. I think, but then would Wolves sell him to us after just letting us get Jota? I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, the thing is, Wolves probably thought they got a really good deal out of us for 45 million. Then they're probably looking at it now like, we could have charged another 15 and been all right here. So I think there'd be a Neto premium. In the same way, when we signed Alisson from Roma, I think we paid a Salah premium to Roma.
Yeah. Well, shifting gears, I want to talk about 2 youngsters. One that we just signed and one that there's been with us for a little bit, but everything I hear about this Cade Gordon sounds pretty awesome. I mean, he's 16 years old. He was playing for Derby. I mean, Rooney sounded like he was really bummed to lose him at Derby County. It seems to be like we have a focus right now on trying to bring in as many young guys as possible right now. Like, what do you guys think about these latest moves with him? And we got this other guy from Celta Virgo, I think, or something like that. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on this kind of movement, trying to get all these guys in because of Brexit and all this stuff?
You can go, Callum. Go ahead first.
Okay. I hope this doesn't sound cynical. I actually think it's a shift in our transfer strategy, and I've thought this for a little while. If you look at some of the players we've sold in recent years, Solanke, Kiana Hova, I think we're now getting to a point where we're trying not to sell our first team players unless they're obviously surplus to requirements. And I think we're trying to go down the route of buying talented young players where if they turn out to be really good, then we've got a player for the first team and we've got them for cheap. Or if they don't turn out to be good, we can potentially say, you know what, we bought this player for 1.5 million. We can get 15 million back. Let's sell the player and reinvest it in the squad in first team players. So again, I don't doubt that these players are not good. I'm sure they are very good, especially for their age. But I can't sit here and say, apart from Harvey Elliott, I don't look at any of the players that we bring in who are youngsters and think, they're definitely going to make it in the future, because I think we may be trying to change our model. Similar to what Chelsea do, isn't it? It's what Chelsea do.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I did heard that Gordon kid is, I read a scout report because I think we beat Man United to him because Man United thought he was guaranteed to join them. And the scout report said that they reckoned that he was the best 16-year-old in the UK. So I haven't seen him. I'm not gonna lie and say I've seen him. I haven't seen him play. Just what I read on Google about him, but yeah, apparently he's really rated. And I probably do see your point. I think there probably is a shift, and that Liverpool's model has always been to try and create our own players. Anyhow, it's never really been to buy superstars. It's always been to create. And I think it's been a while since maybe Trent that we had like a player come through, like a young player that come through and like really burst onto the scene. I think we need one. I think especially we need I'd love us to find like a young Sterling like that, like we did then, QPR, and bring someone in like that. So if one of them, I mean, they don't all have to be great, but even if one of them makes it, then at least, and is really good in attacking wise, then at least you've got a potential world-class player there, So, I can accept that. Obviously, at the same time, I still hope we are spending money on big players, and we're not just relying on, because you can't win a league or challenge the top doing that way, and we shouldn't be doing that. I mean, we're just registered as the 5th richest club in Europe, so that shouldn't be our transfer policy. There's something wrong if that's our policy. So, but yeah, hopefully that one of them makes it into the team. Because even those Polish kids that we got a few recently, it's supposed to be really, one of them's supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
So hopefully one of them makes it. And it can save us a bit of money.
Yeah, but even like Callum said though, even if they don't, you can sell 2 or 3 of those guys in one summer, and all of a sudden you got 30 million pounds to play with, and then you can go get yourself a guy that's going to impact the first team right away. So it's going to be interesting. I think that is a good strategy. You're going to get as many young guys as you can in. I mean, we're already seeing the dividends of Harvey Elliott, and that's kind of what I wanted to shift to, because holy shit! I mean, this kid's 17 years old. He has, I think he's number one. He's number one in assists in the championship. I also think he's number one. I think
he's behind Michael. Michael Liss is number one. He's got the most assists.
The other guy
we need to get him as well. We need to get him as well, because that kid's a baller.
He is a baller. He is a baller. But I mean, how can you not be thrilled with everything that Harvey Elliott's doing right now? Like he's bossing the championship, which is known as being a very physical, very demanding league. And he's just like, I mean, Blackburn is raving about him. That his teammates are loving him. His coach is like, he's our go-to playmaker. At 17 years old, I mean, this signing is shaping up to be one of the best probably that we've ever had on pace so far. He's amazing.
Yeah, I want to see him in midfield. I don't want him to come back and play as a forward. I think his positions should be like as a 10 or as an 8 in midfield, because I think he's got it all in terms of like creativity, in picking a pass, decision making. He's got it all. So I don't want to see him out stuck in the wing like we were playing him when he was at Liverpool. Put him in midfield and let him just, he could be like our young version of Coutinho, kind of being like when Coutinho first joined, he was very raw, and then it took him a while for him to start developing and become really good. So I think yeah. My one worry is I don't want to put too much pressure on Harvey Elliott. I'm putting straight in the first team next season. I think maybe next year he'd go along to another Premiership team, or like something like that. That's going to play him, give him minutes, and then let him develop again, and then come back, rather than thinking, oh, he's had an amazing season now. Just throw him in the first team, doesn't get many opportunities, or he doesn't deliver as much as he could do, and then people start jumping on his back. We've seen how they've been with like Nico Williams and some of the other youngsters, where they just been on his back when they haven't performed. So, but I think if he keeps going, the guy's been like a revelation.
Yeah. What do you think, Callum?
Well, Holmes said it all perfectly. I'd love to see him play as a 10 or a hybrid 8 in our system in years to come. I love the kid. I think he's so good. He's just got that. He's got that footballing arrogance about him that I like as well. He doesn't seem like an arrogant person, but on the football pitch, it's almost like he looks around and says, "No, I deserve to be. I belong here. I'm quality. I don't care about my age. I'm good enough to play with these guys." And we're seeing it at Blackburn. Like the championship's not easy, especially for a 17-year-old. He's not the biggest kid. Like you look at him, he's pretty small. You wouldn't say he's muscly. He's just a normal looking kid, and he's brilliant at football. And I mean, we spoke about 10s earlier, like Firmino and Ox and Jones. If we sold Ox and Harvey Elliott became our third choice, number 10 next season. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Like, again, I do think he does need minutes for his development, but I think Harvey Elliott's quality, and he's the one player who's out of that youth crop that I expect us to keep and develop into something special.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, Wahome kind of mentioned it. I completely agree. I think the most logical next step for him would be either a top league, like, La Liga, Bundesliga, anything like that, or another Premier League team where he can get some quality minutes on a first team somewhere. Like, I think next year might be a little too soon for him to be in our squad. Like, what do you think, Callum? What do you think is the most logical next step for him?
Yeah, definitely a Premiership loan. I'm trying to think, if let's say Leeds stay up, for example, somewhere like Leeds where he could learn off a player like Rafinha, for example, I think would be really good for him. Just where it seems like Bielsa, he likes to get the ball down and play, whereas I wouldn't want him necessarily to go to like a Newcastle where there's heightened expectations on them in comparison to what they are as a team, as a group of players. I'd want him to go to a Leeds where they're expected to stay up, but they're not expected to challenge for the league or Champions League or Europa League places. They're just expected to be a good footballing team who can give any team a good game on any given day. I think that would suit Harvey Elliott perfect.
I know the team I would love for him to go. I don't know if he's quite good enough for them yet, but if he could go to a team like Southampton, I think that would be ideal. Like, I love their manager. I love their style of play. No matter who they play, they typically try to play the same way. And I just think that they typically like to go through the middle as well. So I just think that would be such a match made in heaven, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good move, but I just don't think he'd get the game minutes there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think he might just be short of the first team there. He'd probably just be more of a reserve guy, but there's a lot of options. I mean, and who knows? Like, even like a team like Norwich, if they were to come up, like, not a guarantee, but no matter who they play, they like to play their style of football. That could be a good match too. Like, at the very worst, a team like that.
Would you send him on loan to Germany?
I would. It's a decent physical league. I think he'd do well there. If he can get like a good mid-table team there, for sure.
I'd want to keep him in. I'd want to keep him in England. I think. I don't know. Harvey's like my little. He's like my little diamond, isn't it? I don't want to see him go anywhere. I just want to keep him close. He's one I'd want to see stay in England, I think. So I think the Premiership and the Bundesliga, although they share similarities, I think the physicality in the Premier League, I think he gets used to that. And I think in years to come, and I know this is really, really maybe overrating him, if he adds to his physicality, his talent, and naturally progresses as he would with age and confidence and stature, he could be one of the best players of this generation.
Completely agree. Cannot agree more. To wrap things up here, I want to kind of go back to yesterday's game because a lot of good things happened. Obviously, I think that's 7 straight wins against Spurs. We literally have them in our pocket right now, which is great. 4 straight wins against the Jose Mourinho coach team. That's fucking awesome too. I love sticking it to Jose. But a couple of things that stuck out to me with the game, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on it, was we've been clamoring for Thiago to play more forward. That was the first game he's really played in more of an 8 role. We saw how much more creativity we had. And then also we seemed to play really narrow yesterday. Everything was going through the middle. There was a ton of balls being ripped in from the side. So what did you guys think of yesterday's performance in that regard? It seemed like there was a slight change in tactics that made a huge difference.
Yeah, I think Klopp outthought Mourinho. I think Mourinho thought he would go 5 at the back to try and squeeze the game and make it so that they could catch us on the break. But what it actually did, it limited them in midfield because we went with 3 in midfield. And let's be honest, three players, well, especially 2 in Thiago and Gini, who are masters of keeping the ball and dictating how the game's played. And you play them against Højbjerg and Ndombele. And again, both quality centre midfielders, but we've got an extra man in there. And then because them 3 are so good, what ended up happening was we just advanced higher up the pitch. So even though they were playing a back 3/back 5, their wing backs effectively had no space or no time to go forward. So they became a back five, which meant anytime they moved forward, it was Ndombele, Son, Bergwijn, or Kane. But Kane likes to drop in as well. So it's like, and then when Kane came off, it was just the writing was on the wall, because I think Mourinho set up so negatively that it just worked to us. It worked in our favour perfectly. And then where Firmino was dropping off, none of the centre-backs were coming out with him. So he had all the freedom in the world to do what he wanted to do. Then when one of the centre-backs started coming out with him, which was Eric Dyer, just left a stupid amount of space in behind. So I think Mourinho was very silly in how he set up. I actually think if Mourinho had come out to try and actually beat us as opposed to try and catch us on a break, they would have caused us a lot more problems. But Klopp saw that, and if you give Klopp an inch, he's going to take a mile when it comes to tactics. He's not going to rest on his laurels. He's not going to let you get away with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think what I like yesterday was, I think what it needs to be, what we need to do against low blocks is start playing through the middle more. You know, I think like what I think we tend to do too much in with Thiago is like in recent games is like even when Thiago gets the ball, it's always getting the ball out wide, you know, and him trying to spray out balls to Trent and Robbo to get in. I think what we saw yesterday was us playing more for the middle and playing more balls for the front three and getting them to use the ball and have more combinations. And I think that's the way going forward, especially when you're playing low block, because we need to use, I was saying yesterday, we need to use Thiago more, get him more on the ball and use him more to dictate the play. And I think we started seeing that more of yesterday. I think that's something to start with. Like against the West Ham, I hope we stay the same against West Ham. That we don't go back to spamming balls in the box and we start continue to play through the middle and we only use the wings when needed to. So like with Robert and Trent are in good positions to get crosses in. Because normally they were just spamming in balls in just for the sake of it. And it seemed to be Trent's go-to thing, just get the ball and just trying to ping as fast as possible without even thinking, well, is anyone in the box? Or, you know, so there was a natural shift from that, which I thought was good. And yeah, I think also what played a big thing was the fact that the front three were on it. You know, there was movement. I think what we haven't seen in other games is there's been a lack of movement from the front three. They've been static. They all make the same kind of runs. It's only Jota who make a different run, who go to the near post or to the far post. The others are all just standing in the box together, grouped, and they don't make any different runs. Yep. Yesterday, I thought we saw them doing different runs, and we saw them linking up together. So I think that also played a big part in it as well. And I think I don't know why we don't play Ginny more as number 6. You know, I saw a stat that whenever Ginny's played in the 6, we've won most of our games. We rarely lost to Ginny to 6. So I don't understand why we've always been afraid to play it that way.
And I'm telling you, dude, the best we've seen of Wijnaldum this year was when he was playing in the 6 and Thiago was in the 8. And that happened at the beginning when Thiago came back from COVID. Like, that's when we saw the best of Gini. I was like, holy shit, we haven't seen Gini play like this ever for Liverpool. And that's the thing. And you know, it's like with Thiago, we have to keep playing him in the 6 because Henderson and Fabinho are playing center back. Like if all of our problems would be solved with the creativity piece if we could just play Thiago the way that we were planning on playing him, which was in the 6 or in the 8. He still, I mean, I'm not sorry, in the 8 or in the 10. Like, he can play the 6. He's a great tackler. He can do all that. But damn, dude, when he gets up there and he's just pinging balls through the middle, it's just like he just sees those passes that no one else does. I remember there was one point where he had the ball in our half, and they cut off his pass here, they cut off his pass back, and there was a guy in front of him. Nobody would have hit this little chip pass to Milner. He hit it right to his foot perfectly. No one else in the team would have hit that pass. And is what he does. And he see those lanes that nobody else does. And I literally, it turns me on. I love it.
You guys feel that when Thiago plays the 6, he's having to still do too much in terms of covering ground and doing the defensive work that he might not need to do? I don't think he'd have to, I don't think he's, because I saw a thing like against Bayern, I think there's a comparison heat map, and his heat map as a 6 to how he is at Liverpool is completely different. So, like, he's having to do way too more at Liverpool as a 6 than he was at Bayern. Yeah,
no, and I think that's the thing. And that's why I love when he plays next to Wijnaldum, because Wijnaldum's engine is so big that it allows Thiago to not have to worry so much defensively. And that's why if we ever saw our best midfielder, Fabinho, Henderson, and Thiago, like we would see Thiago unleashed because he would not have that worry about having to play defense.
Is Callum frozen?
Yeah, I think Callum froze. I think we might have lost him. So it's a great freeze face right there. That's pretty funny. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean, though, homie. It's just like I just feel like when he knows he has a defensive-minded player behind him, it gives him that freedom to maybe go up a little bit further, maybe not track back as much and be in a more dangerous position to receive the ball.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like we need him more further up the pitch. And that's why, I think the more we get, I'm not trying to always make us be one-dimensional, but the more we get Thiago the ball, the more he's the key to us breaking down teams and linking up with the front three. And I think like we played so much more better yesterday than we played in a long time because he played further forward. And he was linking up play with people. And you're right, he picks up passes that no one else can see. And I told you earlier that the scary thing about Thiago is the fact that he's still playing nowhere near the level he's at his best level, and he's still working on fitness. Because you still have to remember he had 3 months out. Like he's still played since he's come back. He's only played been 5 games since he came back from injury.
Yeah,
so he's not gonna. Yes, he's not going to be anywhere near his peak best.
Yeah,
I'm just asking Callum. What do you think in terms of?
Sorry about that, guys.
You're good, man.
That's fine. What do you think in terms of getting the most out of Thiago, in terms of going forward as the best solution? Can you hear it?
I think it is that roaming 8. So again, I know I keep on harping. I sound like a broken record. I know I keep on harping on about 4-2-3-1. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
You're delayed.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're just delayed.
Yeah.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're just delayed a little bit.
Okay,
but keep going.
So, yeah, my internet's playing up for some reason. Yeah, I think it's that roaming 8. So you see how yesterday we sort of played with Genie, and then he was sort of roaming. He was doing some of the defensive works. For me, it'd be the roaming. It'd be him just roaming.
Mm-hmm.
Like that for me would be his best.
Yeah. No, I think he's right. No, I think that's spot on. He just needs to have freedom to find the dangerous pockets and fall into those pockets. But yeah, I think that's pretty. I mean, we covered a lot today. I think we're in a good spot here. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover? I think we're pretty good.
Anything else on the agenda? I think maybe just highlight, how good it is to look at Trent being back to his potentially best. Like we missed an on-fire Trent, and it just looked maybe like he broke through a barrier yesterday in terms of like his overall performance. And we need, we're at our best when Trent's at form because we need both fullbacks switched on. And when one fullback is on, the other one's not, our game does suffer. So it's good. Like, how do you feel, Callum, about Trent and his overall performance so far on yesterday night?
Over the moon. I think as football fans, and not just football fans, as people, we forget the guy's 22 years old. And at 22 years old, he's got the responsibility of being our most creative player. So he's 22 years old, and since the age of 20, he's been the team who's the best team in Europe, arguably the best team in the world's most creative player. It's a lot of pressure to put on the boy. Not to imagine he's had COVID this season, he's had injuries as well, and we've had a compact season. So, and he didn't have a pre-season either because he got injured sort of during pre-season. So he didn't have a pre-season either. So when you factor in everything that's happened this season, it's a mini miracle that he's even managed to get back some sort of remnants of form. But yesterday was the best of Trent. Not only in an attacking sense as well, defensively he was really solid as well. Didn't really put a foot wrong yesterday. But even just, it was so nice seeing him available for the goal he took. We haven't seen Trent that far advanced in a long, long time. It's almost like the shackles were taken off yesterday, and it's like Klopp just said, just go out there and be you. Forget about everything else, be you. And his technique is undeniable. Like, people will say, oh, well, Lloris made the statement, was just getting back to his feet. Lloris could have been in the centre of the goal. He's still not saving that. That finish was, millions of people would be happy with that finish, and he made it look easy. His technique is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, this week's the best that we've seen him probably all season. I mean, he didn't have a preseason. I think he had COVID. He had that injury. He really hadn't been himself. And we on this podcast leading up into this week, we were like kind of concerned about him. Like, is he going to be able to? Like, does he need to sit down for a week or so? But damn, last 2 games, and especially yesterday. Yeah, if Trent can play like that, because Robertson hasn't missed a beat. So if Trent can give us that threat on that side as well, now that we have Thiago clicking and Robertson's doing his thing on that side, it's again we talked about it a lot today. It's pick your poison at this point. We're gonna beat you through the middle. We're gonna beat you on the side. Like when we are at our best, it's when Trent is at his best as well.
Fully agree.
Yeah.
Fully agree.
All right, but we talked about a lot. 70 minutes of football. It's always fun to do that. This was awesome. Callum, as always, we really appreciate you coming on, man. You always have good opinions. Kopish is the shit. So thanks so much for taking some time out and speaking with us, man.
The pleasure's all mine. As I said, apologies to everyone in the chat as well. I'm the reason we were late. I got held up on another stream, so it's not Steve's fault. It's not Wahome's fault. It's all my fault. So smash a like for them. And guys, whenever you guys want me on again, it'll be an absolute honor and a pleasure because I love what you guys do. I love how you guys speak about and dive into different subjects. It's my cup of tea. This, so I appreciate you guys inviting me. The pleasure's all mine, guys. Thank you.
We appreciate you, man. You learn from the best at Kopish. If you follow us and you're not watching Kopish yet, not really sure what you're doing, check out their page, give them a subscription, hit their likes, and then while you're here, subscribe to us too. Give us a like. We appreciate you guys. But we'll be back again. Another quick turnaround. We're going to be back tomorrow for the West Ham pre-match. We've been going like every single day at this point, and we absolutely love it. The chat is on fire today. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much for all your comments. But we'll be back tomorrow. Make sure you tune in. Thanks again to Callum. But otherwise, up the Reds, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.